You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
Let's get up to the Northern Hemisphere where Liam Napier, scribe for NZME, aka the New Zealand Herald, joins us after a pretty busy 24 hours. Liam, how are you, mate? Lots of football to suck up and watch.
Yeah, that's right, Das. The tournament's well underway and there's plenty to sink your teeth into. Of course, the All Blacks at Stade de France and a couple of other matches, well, Aussie and Georgia there overnight your time, and a few other teams kicking off their campaigns. So, yeah, certainly nice for the tournament to get underway with a pretty stunning opening ceremony and plenty of drama and controversy already.
Give us a couple of thoughts around what you made of France and New Zealand before we hit the games that have been played more recently.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, Das, it was quite predictable. I expected France to win that match, predominantly because of the players that the All Blacks had out. I thought New Zealand competed well for probably 50-odd minutes and then crumbled in the last quarter. They've got a number of issues to attend to. The scrum, they lost the aerial battle. Their discipline was another major issue after Twickenham, where they conceded 3 yellow cards. I think they will be a much better team when they get Geordie Barrett, Shannon Frizzell, Sam Cane and Tyrell Lomax back eventually. But they really need their best team on the park for me to compete with the top nations in the world. They're currently ranked 4th in the world, and they're playing like it, to be honest. Nothing changes from the respect that they're going to have a defining quarterfinal juncture. But from an outsider's perspective, from a pundit's perspective, I think their prospects have dipped significantly in the wake of that performance, even though it doesn't have a major bearing on their prospects for the tournament.
Concerned about their ability to crack under pressure, especially at the end, and maybe make some poor decisions?
Yeah, look, they were up 13-9 and they conceded 18 unanswered points. Part of that was due to Will Jordan's red card, which came at a very telling time. But, you know, if you think back to the Halcon era of the All Blacks, they were the team that would win in any circumstance. You know, if they were down and out, they would come back, and they were the team that would steamroll opposition. They were the fittest team. They were the ones that would own that last quarter and really turn up the heat, where, you know, on a sweltering night in Paris, this time it was the All Blacks sweltering. And there are a number of factors in that. I think they were missing some big players, but you've got to question the team's on-field leadership. I think you've got to point the finger at the bench. They're not getting enough impact there. I think the makeup of that, there's serious questions to be had around the selection of the bench. They had some late changes. They had to make changes to their starting team and the bench. But, yeah, there's some big questions hovering over this team. And, you know, they've got to win the next 3 pool matches. They have to beat Italy. But we're not really going to know whether they're up to scratch, whether they are ready to compete with these top teams until the quarterfinals.
Right, let's hit the other matches. We've got 3 good results. The Australians managed to get a win, finally. The Irish absolutely destroyed Romania. And without a man, but very good ability to take 3 points every time, England beat Argentina.
Yeah, I wouldn't take too much out of Ireland, Romania. Johnny Sexton's return's probably the most notable from his suspension in that, and not overly impressed, to be honest, by Australia's performance against Georgia. Very patchy, but it is their first win under Eddie Jones, so they'll certainly take that. And yeah, quite an absurd sort of spectacle, if you could call it that. England and Argentina, a red card to Tom Curry in the 2nd minute, which was quite baffling. Just a real accidental rugby collision. Yellow card given at the time, went to the off-field TMO bunker, upgraded to red. Personally, I was surprised it was a yellow, let alone a red. England adapted really well to that. A magnificent performance from George Ford, as you mentioned, took every opportunity that came his way, slotted a 50-metre drop goal and another couple of strikes. England very composed in those circumstances. But I don't think I've ever seen a top-tier nation play as badly as Argentina did. They couldn't hold the ball. They gave away possession. They gave away penalties. It was a quintessential brain explosion. They couldn't do anything right. The manual for playing against 14 men went out the window. They did everything they could to gift England that match, and England scored 27 points. They didn't have to score a try. So they've really turned expectations around, having come into this match, having lost at Twickenham to Fiji. So a very impressive performance from England, but an absolutely dire performance from Argentina, something that I did not see coming. They came into this tournament of great expectations. They're on a favourable side of the draw, and they could not have played worse.
So you'd say that Argentina lost that as opposed to England really winning it. But you got to give credit to the English. They did what they had to do under that pressure situation, and there will be more cards in this tournament. So they'll stick that in the memory banks and use that later on in the piece. It may be required again.
Oh, absolutely. That's the absolute blueprint for a red card, how to counter a red card. 78 minutes, 14 men down. You have no right to win a test match, tier 1 v tier 1, but England did it, and they did it comfortably. So they will bank that. They will take a lot of confidence from that, from where they've been, from the pressure and scrutiny that they've been under. They've been widely written off by their home press and everyone else. Steve Borthwick, since he took over, has copped a lot of criticism. And, they now look odds on to top their pool and on a favourable side of the draw. They've got Samoa in their pool to come. And then you're looking at a quarterfinal against Wales, Australia or Fiji perhaps. So, look, England's prospects are looking much rosier than they were prior to this match, and having overcome that red card, it was quite a statement performance the way they went about it.
Quick look at the 3 games coming up before they rest for the weekend. For the week, Japan taking on Chile, South Africa, Scotland and Wales, Fiji. I think the South Africa-Scottish game is probably the pick of those, but Fiji fancy themselves to run straight over the top of Wales, I expect.
They do, but they've had a massive setback with their first 5 being injured. So that's a big blow for them. They've finally found a number 10 that could complement their style of play, kick their goals, direct them around the park. So there's been some big outs this tournament when you look at Roman Intermark and the like from other nations, but a big setback for Fiji. So it's going to be really interesting to see how, you talk about Argentina and the expectations on them, and clearly they wilted under that pressure. Now, Fiji have been the underdogs consistently throughout global tournaments in history. Now, having beaten England at Twickenham, that dynamic changes. So how do they adapt? How do they adjust? How do they cope with expectations? So Wales are probably flying under the radar and enjoying, the pressure not being on them. So interesting to see how that match plays out. And Scotland, South Africa is going to have a major bearing on who the All Blacks face in the quarterfinals. That's an incredibly tough pool that also includes world number 1 Ireland, Six Nations champions. So really intriguing to see how that match plays out. South Africa, and while they smacked the All Blacks, that was the All Blacks' worst loss in history at Twickenham 2 weeks ago. But South Africa, in their past 2 World Cup openers, they've lost to the All Blacks and to Japan. So they've got a bit of history of stumbling first up. Scotland are an improving nation. They're, underdogs, and I think they'll enjoy that. So that's definitely the match of the round.
Great stuff. Liam Napier, scribe for the New Zealand Herald. We're expecting to read plenty more good content from you, and of course getting on the airways more than you probably want. You look after yourself, mate. Chat again soon.
Cheers, Das.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday, or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.